this week's PMQs, Sir Keir Starmer was urged to crack down on Islamophobia by Labour MP Tahir Ali, prompting fears that blasphemy laws could be reintroduced. Let's take a listen.
Last year, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran. Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
We are, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, committed to tackling all forms of hatred and division, including, of course, Islamophobia in all of its forms.
Downing Street sources have since told GB News that the government is not considering a blasphemy law, but the Prime Minister's response to the question has provoked a row over the government's commitment to freedom of speech. I'm joined now by podcaster and commentator Kajja Khan. Welcome. I'm very excited you're here. I follow you on X and you're fantastic.
Thank you so much.
You put out. I think, first of all, that Keir Starmer's response, I mean, there are two things here. One is that an MP is standing up in the House of Parliament, arguably asking for our culture, Western liberal culture, to be pushed backwards. And secondly, an incredibly weak response from Keir Starmer.
This is yet another transparent attempt to introduce blasphemy laws, draconian Islamic blasphemy laws in Britain. And it was not surprising, but the way it was conducted in the Parliament, it was quite shocking, even for me, because there has been discussion around Islamophobia and to legalise or just criminalise, all the criticism on religion because it was being conflicted with the bigotry against Muslims. Mm-hmm. So there has been such discussion, but this time this was a blatant, I would say, attack on free speech, because they have made it very much clear that under the guise of legalizing this one term, Islamophobia, they are trying to ring-fence an ideology, a set of beliefs. This has nothing to do with protecting Muslims as people. And yes, Keir Starmer's response was very, I would say, dramatic. It was not very clear, very vague. He did not commit himself to any specific action. However, he did sort of give a green light to this kind of conversation to go ahead, with this kind of rhetoric to introduce and to bring back those blasphemy laws that have been repealed in Britain. And I would say at this point, we need to stop using euphemistic terms and words to describe what happened in Parliament and call a spade instead. People are beheaded. They are tortured, imprisoned, and they are burnt alive in countries where such draconian Islamic blasphemy laws are enforced. And it's a tragedy, really, that in modern-day Britain, where we uphold free speech values and, the values of tolerance and, the values of peaceful coexistence, we are talking about so regressively, I would say, introducing these blasphemy laws back in Britain.
Yeah, as you say, anti-Muslim bigotry is real.
Yes.
Needs to be addressed, needs to be dealt with
Exactly.
where it occurs. Islamophobia, arguably, is a made-up term, specifically by Islamists to, as you say, conflate the two. An ideology with the people who follow that ideology. And that's very, very dangerous when you have the parliamentary group who looking into trying to work out a definition of Islamophobia that I believe they defined it as something to do anything criticising Muslimness. So open-ended and so dangerous to free speech.
This concept of Muslimness does not include many people who, identify themselves as Muslims. It does not include Muslims from Ahmadiyya community. It does not include Muslim, LGBTQ Muslims and moderate Muslims, women who don't wear hijab. It does not include those people who don't wear religion on their sleeves 24/7. So it's a very contentious, I would say, a term that has been pushed forward into political and social discourse. And as you said that, and I firmly believe that anti-Muslim bigotry is real, that needs to be addressed wherever it rears its ugly head, like any other form of racism or bigotry. However, when we talk about Islamophobia, in this incident, this has been made clear what they mean by Islamophobia. They want to introduce laws. In fact, they aim to enforce, those laws in this society, in a free democratic British society, that prohibit desecration of all religious texts, and they literally aim to protect one particular religion. And saying this, Ibrahim, I don't see any Christian or any Jewish person, pushing any sort of, laws or proposal to ring-fence their religion. It's this one term that has been pushed into political and social discourse just to protect Islam from criticism. And there are people who always say that let's make a distinction between Islam and Islamism. I would say that we need to make a distinction between Islam as a set of ideas and Muslims as people, because ideas, they don't have right, and Muslims as people, they do have right. And when we talk about Islam, yes, Islamism is a political ideology, a vile political ideology that seeks to subjugate people through intimidation and fear and violence. However, Islam as a religion, there are certain aspects of Islam which are very much discriminatory, misogynistic, and we need to discuss those, because those aspects of this religion, they impact vulnerable lives, and people suffer. So we need to be able to talk about these aspects and to scrutinize these things, because we live in a society where people enjoy religious freedom, and freedom of belief is one thing, but freedom to manifest one's religious belief is another. In Article 9, Paragraph 2 of European Convention on Human Rights, it explicitly states that the freedom to manifest one's religious belief shall be subject to prescribed laws in a democratic society for various reasons, including to protect public safety and to protect other people's rights and freedom. So we need to understand this thing, that people, they do enjoy religious freedom here in British society, and as far as the scrutiny of a religious belief is concerned, I think no religion should be placed above scrutiny. We should be able to criticize and question all beliefs, all ideas, because there are problematic things in ideas and beliefs that needs to be scrutinized.
Exactly, and what happened this week arguably is a massive step back, but hopefully we have addressed this and we can create the wall that will stop the erosion of
Very much hopeful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.